Hey everybody, Jillian here. I thought it would be fun to share a Bible journaling process video in my interleaved journaling Bible, just documenting some takeaways from the past several weeks when I've been studying the book of Joshua. I shared a whole video about how I study, what my approach is, what some of my favorite resources are. So if you are interested in that, I'll link that for you up in the top right corner and then also down in the box below the video. But I've got my scripture journal here. This is an ESV scripture journal from Crossway. I just bought the one to see how I would like it. Turns out I like it. So I have a bunch of notes in here, and then I wrote down some Bible journaling ideas on this little index card. So now I'm done with my study, and I'm going to fill up the pages of my journaling Bible with some of my takeaways. So today I'm going to be talking about how to use some repeated elements for Bible journaling. And I'm going to be in Joshua 21, 43 to 45. The verse is here, but I already have an entry here, so I'm just going to scooch over to this page and go ahead and journal here. The only thing that I've decided that I want to use for my project today is an older stamp set from an Illustrated Faith kit last year. I like to keep my stamps in this storage binder with two 4x6 page protectors. I got the binder at Hobby Lobby, and then I just pick up the page protectors wherever I can for as cheap as possible. So this was the stamp set from the Heart Layers kit that came out last year. If the stamp set is still available in the Illustrated Faith shop, I'll link it. So I want to journal about God's faithfulness, and I thought that this stamp, which says, "Great is your faithfulness," would be really fun to use repeatedly. So I'm going to do that and put that to the side. I'm going to pause for a minute here, figure out what else I want to use for my page today, and then I'll come back on and get started. Alright, so I looked through some of last year's fall printables, and I really wanted to use this set from Tamara Arcelia called Grays Upon Grace, along with Elaine's grid labels that were in coordinating colors for last year's Gratitude Documented. So I want to use a big focal piece adjacent to the repeated elements that I'm going to have, so I'm working on that first. I originally printed this set on clear sticker paper. That's not going to work for how I want to use it today, so I just simply removed the release paper from the sticker and put it on some scrap white cardstock that I had, and then I'll go ahead and fussy cut this out and layer it on top of the other bits that I want to use. I really wanted some sparkle today, or something underneath the big floral piece here, so I couldn't decide between this piece of vellum or this gold polka dot transparency. Because I kind of want that metallic, I'm going to go with the transparency piece here. And then I had pulled this tag, which came with some of the Lent releases from Illustrated Faith earlier this year. I originally thought maybe about using the tag as a layering piece, and then thought, well, why don't I just cut a tag shape out of this transparency? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm not too concerned that it's perfect. I just want the general shape. It's going to hang off the edge of the page with this beautiful floral layered on top of it. So I got that trimmed down to tag sized and punched a hole in it, and I'm going to go ahead and start figuring out where I want things to go. I'm just going to take this stamp sentiment here and make sure that this is going to fit with this large element here. Looks good, so I'll go ahead and move on to my next step. Since I want to focus on repeated elements today, the grid labels are a great option because there's a lot of them in multiple colors. So I can use 3. I want to use things in odd numbers, and they can be all 3 different colors that coordinate with this floral. So that's what I'm going to go for. So I'm just cutting out colors that I think are going to work, and then putting them down to make sure that I like the way they look before I move on to my next part. Once I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and cut out this border strip from Tamara's set because I really like the color, and I'm going to figure out where to put this. So I'll get this cut out and then come on back. So I ran the grid labels through my typewriter, and I wanted to note 3 things that God is faithful to, and so I typed each one on a different label, and then we'll place that underneath my stamping. I'm going to go ahead and read the verses to you that I'm journaling. In chapter 21 of the book of Joshua, this is after the Israelites have gone into Canaan, they've conquered the land, it's been allotted to the different tribes, and they've taken possession of it. So in Verse 43, it says, "Thus the Lord gave to Israel all the land that he swore to give to their fathers. And they took possession of it, and they settled there. And the Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their fathers. Not one of all their enemies had withstood them, for the Lord had given all their enemies into their hands. Not one word of all the good promises that the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass." What jumps out to me over and over and over again in Deuteronomy, which I had finished before this, and now Joshua, is God's faithfulness. On every single page we could use this stamp, right? Great is his faithfulness. I stamped the sentiment down once and then took like the bottom half of the grid label and used some washi tape to adhere it right underneath that sentiment. And then I'm going to do that again 2 more times. So it says, "Great is your faithfulness to your promises. Great is your faithfulness to your character. And great is your faithfulness to your people." At this point, I'm just now remembering that I had wanted to put some color, some paint behind my transparent tag, and I just peeled that piece up. I tore a little bit of my page, that's okay. I didn't want to cover my stamping or the label, so I kind of masked that area off and then used the Sponge Sugar Distress Oxide spray. And then I'm going to take the Dina Wakley Media Gloss spray in the color Cheddar and splatter that around and then hit that with my heat tool. I don't love the hard lines that I have around those 2 sentiments. And once it's dry and I continue putting things down, I'll strategically cover that. So you can see here that I used that second label with some washi tape to cover that hard line. I'm going to stamp "Great is your faithfulness" for the last time here, and then cut my grid label and get that guy stuck down. So I have all 3 sentiments here. Then I went ahead and added that border strip to the opposite page, just making it look like it comes out of the binding. And then to cover that corner where my mask was, I used some leaves from Tamara's set, just printed on clear sticker paper. And then I'm also putting a leaf down here on the bottom. With most of it hanging off, I kind of want it going off of the page so that it will kind of cradle the other things that I'm going to put down there. All right. Then I want to add a date stamp, so I'm using my Studio Calico Mega Date Stamp. This thing's huge and I love it. It's such a statement, and I'm going to put that on the bottom, right over the leaves here. And I'll do that a couple times since I didn't get a great impression. Now I have some more stuff happening at the bottom of my page, so I'm going to take my attention towards the top and kind of balance that out a little bit. I'm using the Mark Maker stamp set, which is a couple years old now at this point, almost 2 years old. Sometimes it comes back in the Illustrated Faith shop, so keep your eyes peeled. I don't think it's in there yet. But if you don't have it, it'd be super easy to kind of like make these marks with a pen or a marker or whatever. So I stamped a few marks around the page, and then I wanted to add a bow clip. I have this really pretty fabric, and I'm just going for it here. I have no idea how much I need, but this looks about good. So I put a little slit in there with my scissors and then kind of ripped it with my fingers, and then found out, no, that is not long enough. So I fussed with it for a little bit and then just decided to grab a different piece of fabric. This paper clip that I'm using is rather large. I got it at Tuesday morning. If I can find something similar online, I'll go ahead and link it for you down in the video description below. Okay, there we go. I ended up using a different fabric, similar color, and that looks just fine to me. Now, because I'm journaling kind of away from the verse, I want to write it here. So I'm just flipping back to see what it says, and I'm going to put the first like 2/3 of it, as much as I can fit, up at the top, and then I'll finish it off down on the bottom right of the page. Now I've got my journaling done, but there's still a little bit of like blank space at the bottom here that I don't love. So I think what I'm going to do is grab my Bible mat, put that underneath my page, and then grab some more of this gloss spray and just put some huge splatters of this really fun contrasting color down at the bottom. And then up at the top too, because why not? And that is going to do it for me. So I've got a few finished looks at my page here, some close-ups if you will. I love the fall printables from the Print and Pray shop. I am so excited for Gratitude Documented to start, and I'm going to be sharing lots about that project very soon, so to be sure to stick around if that's something that you're interested in. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you very soon.